Certainly it is a most difficult task after lunchtime. One is that when you have a very good lunch, it is very difficult to stay awake. This is one. The second is that immediately after lunch, if you have to introduce a topic which what we call is still very, very theoretical, it's very difficult to keep the interest going on. But I'm sure, and particularly our SME colleagues, those who has registered and come today, we hope that the next 3-4 hours that we are together should be helpful to you, and as well should be helpful to the host as well, because a lot of efforts has been given to develop this guidebook. And the idea for developing this guidebook was to help you guys to be prepared. So for both the parties, both the SME Development Academy under the Ministry in Chinese Taipei, the TIER, our SME working group colleagues, our EPWG colleagues, and myself. For those who know me only by the introduction that Jason gave, that experts of expert, I'm actually not. I work for disaster preparedness. I'm a common person. I'm like an SME. Very, what we call unstable, brittle, at risk, but determination. The reason I say determination, because in 2011, in Thailand, in Bangkok, of course, I live in an apartment on the 32nd floor. So I can only see people suffering down at the road, but I have seen myself traveling to many places that how common people suffer when they are not prepared, when they are not informed, or when they are not helped. I have also seen largely the small medium enterprises, that how they suffered, and thanks to Dr. Vimon Khan, I think you and OSMEP has introduced us in terms of the terminology and the complexity of SMEs in Thailand and Thai economy. And of course, thanks to TIA, since 2012, I come to Chinese Taipei every year, if not 3 times, at least 1 time. And this is an opportunity. I have seen some of your establishment. I have seen you and your GDP growth, but at the same time, we have seen some of your challenge as well. So for me, Chinese Taipei, Thailand, or any of the economy is not very different. I work with a number of SMEs in various economies, as I mentioned before. And since 2012, we actually took up that earlier guidebook, which was again prepared here in Chinese Taipei on the business continuity planning. We started with 14 steps. Luckily, in this guidebook, we have reduced it to 11. But our SMEs in Thailand, they want only 4 steps. They say that we don't have much time, please reduce. And every time you develop a guidebook, this is what the question comes. Today you have a printed version. The first impression goes that, oh, can we make it simple? And this is what I suppose the previous discussion was, that make things simple, make things workable. And I am hopeful that today's training and your feedback and your contribution and your suggestions will further improve, because ultimately the purpose is that this gets endorsed by a large number of the economies and finally adopted as a approved APEC guidebook. The success of the previous guidebook, it is important for you to know that when we started the business continuity planning guidebook, it was developed in English, very thick document. I understand that today it is available in 7 languages, in an adapted form, and many of the economies are using that to develop business continuity plan for SMEs. I can give you my own experience that in 2012, not many SMEs wanted to invest their own money into developing a business continuity plan. The reason was that they cannot afford to hire experts or certified people on 23001 or other ISO risk management systems because the cost was very high. But today I can tell you that we work with more than 200 SMEs in 3 economies. The cost of developing one business continuity plan for an SME which has between 20 to 100 employees is around $4,000, and this is not a exercise in this kind of room. This is an exercise at their site. So it takes about 8 months to 12 months, depending on how much they want to practice, how much they want to adopt it. The benefit is that in at least 2 economies, I will not name because it is not relevant, they get a lot of recognition now in their ministries, in their banking system and others when they go and say that we have a business continuity plan. But there is a long way to go. I'm not saying that just by having a BCP, you will maximize your business or you can protect your business, but these are good attempts. So this is another very good attempt, and thanks goes to Trend Micro and TIA to develop this together. I think since the beginning, I think the basic terminology that was used is called the digital resilience, correct? We talk about it, and for all of us, we really need to understand what is digital resilience is. It is all about the capabilities of the SME. It is all about my capacity to come back to my working situation if I am affected by an incident. When you define digital resilience, what you are saying is that it is the capability of SMEs to respond to any kind of digital crisis. And I will not repeat, digital crisis is not new, or it is not going to be reduced even if Win 10 has come and you install it, you install any of the system, it is going to be growing. The only thing you can do is to get the services as quickly as possible. First thing is that the services should be known to you. As Kevin mentioned earlier, that if you want to walk up to the harbor, you should not build a car, you better hire the taxi. That means you better get the solutions and be in touch with the solution providers. And I think there are many more, and that is what I think in the next 2 hours we will discuss. So understanding that we are at risk, our business is at risk, we have seen, we don't want to cry, we want to create another malware, we say we don't want to cry, but I think we will be forced to cry all the time. So this is what I say, that let us unzip and look at what are some of the steps that we can take to make our business resilience from any kind of digital insecurities or digital crisis. So you have this book, and I hope all of you have started reading it. I have read it 2-3 times, frankly speaking, because I was here in May, and at that time we were discussing. When I went back home, I also read it one more time, and I can tell you that I like that book. Yes. The reason is it is much simpler than the previous guidebook. I am not commenting on the previous guidebook, but we learned from there. We are the same people at that time as well. I mean, we all were together. This is simple. The only thing is how we implement it. And today we also talk that to implement it, let us make it simple. So here are the 11 steps that is there. And I just would read it very quickly. The first, they talk about the terminology called ISMS. I hope all of us know about ISMS. Anybody in the room who has not heard about ISMS? Can you raise your hand? I mean, okay, Jason is here. I actually could have done yesterday. Only last night I did it. Anybody else who doesn't know ISMS? Oh, many. Okay, that's good. So, whom I should ask to define in a simple term? Kevin? ISMS? I mean, the abbreviated word is called Information Security Management System. This is not new, by the way. I mean, this is how some of our experts use terminologies. Information Management Security System. Information was available since the world started. Management was also there. Security was always there. So this is, the ISMS is called Information Security Management System. Am I right? If you go to the more business term, or in terms of the what we call accreditations and terminologies, there is this ISO 2701. And for all of you who really want to know more, you can just Google it. Yes, Jason, yes. IT guys.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it?
So in your company, if you don't understand, you just ask your IT guy. This is what Jason is suggesting. So the first step is about understanding the requirement and forming a team for ISMS. We will decide whether we really need to do or how we have to do. The second step is about understanding the policies and regulations around ISMS. The third step is categorizing some of our information assets. And this is where each of the SMEs will have different assets, because if I work on an online banking system, my information assets are certainly different. But if I simply work on a small company selling a lot of the product, my information assets is different. The fourth step is about identifying the risk associated with each of the assets. For example, if I am part of an online banking system, some of my risk will be very, very high because it is always online and internet based. But if I simply use an Excel sheet on my non-internet based computer to put all my daily income, that also has a risk, because the moment that computer gets connected to internet, somebody else might be stealing your data. The fifth is that once you identify and evaluate those risks, you generally assess that how much you can observe or how much you cannot observe those risks. The sixth is about developing a plan based on the identified risk. Seventh is about, based on the plan, you identify what kind of control, what kind of mechanism that you would like to give to reduce the risk because of the internet security problem. The eighth step is about developing a business continuity plan. And business continuity plan is nothing but a plan that helps you to mitigate or to reduce the risk, or as well as to recover if you are affected. The ninth step is about responding to and reporting information security incident. And this is important because even if you are well protected, you must monitor and inform to your company and to your company IT related departments so that they would continuously monitor what are the trends. The 10th step is about evaluation, that means effectiveness of your plan. And the last one is about learning from the first 10 steps. You improve based on the situation and scenario that you face. So these are all 11 steps provided here, and this is what I suppose after my input, we will be working together, and my colleague will explain this to you. But just to make it simple, what they call, I mean, in management term, the PDCA, that means plan, do, check, and act. And this is simple. And this is not what I call is a big scientific innovation. That actually reminds me a person, you know, a lot of the person acquire extra sensitive senses. We call it that somebody has acquired 6 senses. Mean that he or she can actually see something which we cannot see. So somebody asked that person that, what is about 6 senses that you can predict or understand? He said that it is not 6 senses, it is common sense. So for everything it is a common sense. Here all the 11 steps have been put into 4 cycles, which is plan, do, check, and act. And this is where I think we would be working together so that if we have to prepare a plan, this is how we should prepare. And this is my last slide, and that actually reminds me that since morning, we are using the word keynotes, keyword, key steps. So these are the key words for me, and which is very, very simple if you really look at it. That first is the requirement. If I am SME, I have to go for any kind of IT protection system. I first have to evaluate what are my requirements. And then based on that, I would like to have, and I think it is important with competitive market, that we should have a team. The team should be trained. The team should be given responsibilities to monitor, understand, and explain some of the challenges related to the digital insecurities and others. The third word is policies and objectives. You really need to know the policies in your country, in your sector, in and around you, also your company policy. Fourth and fifth is about understanding the assets and the risk associated with each of the assets. 6, I suppose, is developing a plan, and based on the plan, what kind of control that you will do. Business continuity plan is a very much talked word, already written. You can. And then information security incidents. We keep hearing from others that somebody has been hacked. When we are hacked, we should also discuss it and find it out. And then, of course, the last 2, 10 and 11 is about effectiveness and improvement. And the last one also, for example, even for this guidebook, we would really like to know the 11th step, that what are the improvements that we would make to make this more accessible. So these are the 11 steps, and the book is with you. I am not a good English writer, so people have already written a lot about each of the steps. So I would now hand it over to my next colleague to go through what we have to do in the next 2.5 hours. Thank you very much.